you're
and
talking about, but
and
he's
he just
kind of
sees the
waited
goal.
and Diaz has clamped him in it.
Yeah,
I
he
know
just sees
exactly
the
the one
goal.
you're talking about.
He's a player. Eddie's a player is an old school nine. He needs to score for him to be happy. And if he don't score, he won't be happy. Whereas Trossard's a player that even if you don't score, he'll make an assist. He'll make things happen. And that's why
As you've seen,
Jesus
yeah.
only had 5 goals. He only had 5 goals,
His
but
impact was so much
5 assists
bigger than
as
his
well.
impact.
So Trossard's now got 1 goal, 1 assist, and you can see, I think going into the future until Jesus returns, we've got an option there. And I think looking at that front three as well, it's going to cause Everton issues because who are they going to mark?
This
Who
is
are they
what
going to mark?
that's
So
what I'm kind of saying, bro. Because it's like on one hand, I do want Eddie to start because he's an out and out striker. But then again, if they're gonna come, because I think it's gonna be a different game. If they do come here and they do sit back, as you said, you can't. If a target's forever moving, how can you pick it up? And that kind of disrupts their shape. As you know, if there's space, that's the stupidest thing to do against Arsenal. You give us space, you give us space on the transition. You've seen what's happened this season, so you're right on that.
I don't think they will though. I think it will be a pure deep block. I don't see them coming out, and I
I
think
think
the
it'll be
main box
stupid to
threat.
do that.
Yeah, I think the main box threat, Calvert-Lewin's out of the game, so they don't have that same physical presence. Their top goal scorer is Damari Gray. He's got 3 goals.
They've been
They're gonna try
crying
to
about
counter
their lack of
attack.
goals, really.
They're going to try to counter-attack for sure, but at a deep block at the Emirates Stadium. We've not done it at the Emirates in the last few games. We've won 2 games away from home, 2 difficult games away from home, and we've broken down deep blocks.
Facts.
But at the Emirates against Brentford, we struggled. Against Man City, it wasn't really a deep block, but we forced them into it, and we couldn't break them down as much. But, we made more chances. We're showing that we
Couldn't
can
get
break down
that
a deep
added
block.
goals and that,
Yeah.
yeah.
We've shown against Leicester and, more importantly, Villa, we can break down a deep block, win this game, make it 3 wins out of 3, and, we're living Gucci.
They're living Gucci, bro, and that's my challenge. I know it's a big challenge, and my challenge to Arsenal now is: can we at least go undefeated going into that Anfield game? Respectfully to Bournemouth, should be washing the floor with them. Everton, we should be getting revenge. Who else we got? Whoever we've got from now till then, with the exception of Sporting Lisbon. In fact, all of them, we should be winning that. I just wanted to ask you a question. Before I ask you a question, one love for the super chat, my bro. He said, DG, and I think you mean and Babs, who's better, Casemiro or Partey? I'm going to say Casemiro. He's done it longer. I think Partey is better passing the ball forward, but all in all, Casemiro's better than him. And that's no disrespect to Thomas Partey. I don't think either player is clear of everyone. Casemiro's just done it for years, man. Really, like, I got to be respectful to the guy. What about yourself?
I'd agree in terms of overall careers, but right now, I know Casemiro's on it, but I'm not a fan of his passing ability. I think he can pass the ball, by the way, but I think he's a bit wayward. I think in the Carabao Cup final, he had 64%. That's not what you need if you're going to be at a top club like Arsenal, which is purely on the ball. I think Man United right now love him.
Madrid for time, bro.
You know what? I mean, no, listen, at Madrid as well, it was amazing, but he had Modric and Kroos. He doesn't have that at Man United. And I think right now at United, he is amazing. But I do believe as United try to become like Arsenal, more dominant on the ball, they might start to think, okay, we want
limitations.
Yeah, like we've seen it with Partey sometimes, where certain games his passing's been wayward and he's been a bit annoying. And now you can see with Jorginho was a different, caliber of passer. But yeah, I'd go Casemiro. Overall careers.
That's why I think we're looking at, Zubimendi's not really like Rodri, but that's where I think long-term Mikel Arteta is going to find one
Declan
of those
Rice.
sort of cultural number sixes. Yeah, really, like them cultural number sixes who can do that, but they can progress the ball rather than like the athleticism and whatnot. Again, I kind of wanted to ask you this as well. Martinelli's obviously played left wing. Trossard's played left wing at a time prior to this game, and there was a clip online where I think it was Albert, the coaching staff, who was telling Trossard to hold his width because obviously Zinchenko's running in field. Do you think that harms the attackers?
No. Because that's their system, and that's positional play for you. You want to hold your spaces, you want to be in your own zones, and kind of have the width out wide. We saw it against Arsenal with Grealish's goal. Jack Grealish holds his width out wide, he stays out there, and then lo and behold, spaces opens up, and he scores that goal. If he's tucked in alongside Tomiyasu, he might not get that chance.
Up, yeah.
So I think it has its benefits. And yeah, sometimes players want a bit more freedom, but I think Mikel's found a perfect blend of rotating that final third where it's not just pure positional play. And the attackers are allowed to enter different zones of the pitch. So it can be hurtful, but when you're top players and you understand the system properly, then I don't think it is.
That's what I'm saying. I think I always say the collective comes first. I do think in the game, naturally, you get chances. If the gaffer wants you for 10 minutes to hold your whip, you'll get 10 minutes where you could do what you want, really and truly. And I do believe we're going to get into that scenario where there's more consistent rotating movement, even more intricacies, even though we need to be a bit more ferocious in the final third. And then we'll do our thing, really and truly. What do you make of draw in Sporting Lisbon in the Europa League?
It's one of the not better teams you could have got. They were all somewhat difficult teams, but you know what? It's a last 16. You expect to play someone decent. I obviously watched Sporting play against Spurs, and they were all right. Nothing too special, but all right. So yeah, I think they're more than beatable. But I'm more excited for the Europa League to see Smith Rowe play potentially, Kiwior as well. Both players that played last night. Those two. I want to see those two players play. So I think the Europa League's not more about experimenting, but I wonder if Mikel Arteta is going to throw in Vieira, Smith Rowe, Kiwior on those games, or is he going to keep the strongest team and have a mix of both? You know, Arsenal we have like almost two squads now, don't we? When you got Partey and Jorginho, you got Tierney and Zinchenko, you've got those ability to rotate and stuff. I really think in the Europa League we can get far, and I want to win it, man. I know a lot of Arsenal fans are prioritising the Premier League, but it's not a guarantee. It's not a guarantee. And I think we have to also get used to the idea of more than one game a week in the clutch part of the season.
Please. More than one game a week, more than one competition. There's no.
You can't just focus on one.
We need to be able to do this thing, because if it was the Champions League, we would not be saying that. I'm with you. I'm in set two minds about the Europa League. Not winning it, not getting to the final. We're in it. We need to go and do it. But it's a sense of we do need to rotate. I do like how Arteta here and there, other players have been coming in, and I actually am a big fan of we've kept the same team, we've allowed relationships to build, but you do become a bit predictable, you do become a bit stale, you do bring up a lot of fatigue. And Arteta early in the Europa League did go strong. He is going to have to rotate to some degree because there's a lot of games they're coming thick and fast. But I'm not too sure on the amount of rotation, really. You know, I would like to see Kiwior play. I wouldn't begrudge Mikel Arteta if he was to play Gabriel as a left-sided centre-half and go with Saliba. I do expect to potentially see, depending on fitness, the Kiwior, the Fabio Vieira, the Smith Rhodes, depending on how much football he gets, Trossard. By God's grace, you know, Gabriel Jesus is back sooner rather than later. Who knows? Maybe he even plays a part in that as well, and potentially even Reece Nelson. But then again, at the same time, you're in the knockout stages. Sporting Lisbon away is not going to be easy. To a degree, do you play your best team and then wheel off people if need be? Really, it's a tough one, because again, even the 2 Europa League games, bro, you've got Fulham sandwiched in between. Fulham away, I don't think anyone wants to play them on current form.
No, I totally agree, and I think in that Sporting Lisbon game, you know, I do believe that we have the squad depth to rotate a little bit, enough to go and beat them as well. I expect for some first teamers to start, like maybe a Saliba or a Gabriel, but I think we've got those new signings now with Trossard, Jorginho and Kiwior. You don't sign 3 players to not go and compete on both fronts. And as you said, the players need to get used to it. And the fans are one thing, but the players need to get used to it, because next year...
players want to play, bro. Like, they players want to play, fam.
They want to go for it, man.
When you're this close.
And I think we do have enough squad depth to compete in both competitions and at least get to the semi-finals, quarter-finals of Europa League and beyond.
This is it. And I even feel sorry for Matt Turner. He's just unfortunate. Ramsdale's there, you know. Matt Turner, for me, I've really been giving him his flowers since the World Cup, and actually against City in the FA Cup, I think he was superb. So he'll get his opportunities without a doubt, man. If I talk to you about certain things in relation to the month now, a bit of a just a bit of fun. Who would be your player of the month and underperformer of the month?
February?
Yeah.
Player of the month for Saka.
Ooh. No, Jorginho love there.
Jorginho. What games have we had in February? We've had
Brentford.
We've played Brentford.
Everton,
okay.
Technically.
Brentford, Everton. Okay.
Villa and Leicester recently. There's defo one I'm missing out. In fact,
so it's Everton. Is it Everton to Everton or Everton to the last game against Leicester?
It was Everton away, Brentford at home, City at home, Aston Villa away, Leicester away, and here we are now, innit?
Yeah, I'll take it back. I'll give it Jorginho, because he's been solid in three of those games at least. And Trossard also deserves a shout as well. I think he's been decent as well.
100%.
But I would give it Jorginho, mainly because he was written off so massively. Like,
that's what
I remember deadline day, like everyone's like, "Oh no, Arsenal have got an agent from Chelsea," and I'm like, "Listen, man, he's a good player.
Do you remember when he came on against Everton and we conceded? Not that it was his fault, and they were like,
exactly that.
You ain't won since you got him."
I really hate it when fans write off a player before he's played a minute. I hate
Give
that.
I hate
that so much. And I think it's a bit naive as a fan base sometimes to, you know, Mikel Arteta has signed so many top players over the past 2-3 years. Give him at least one to see how Jorginho is going to play. And now he's playing.
Let him before you get onto him, at least.
Yeah. He was written off before and I think even now, you know, he's been very decent in the past few games. But if he makes one mistake, our fans will be onto him again. And I don't like that, because he's been fantastic for Arsenal. And clearly, you know, the players love him. Mikel said he's had a massive impact in terms of experience. And
I don't see why not. Speaks about him. So who are we as common football fans? If Thiago Silva is coming out and talking how good he is, and the players of both clubs are talking how good he is, as I said, If a man makes a mistake or does well, you praise and critique. But who are we as common football fans to say anything? And it's testament to the talent ID, whether we were successful or not in getting our other targets. We've shown that we can react and things. And Jorginho doesn't necessarily even block the pathway of the more long-term, the Declan Rice, the Caicedos, any of these guys. That actually brings me on to my next part of this. If I start saying, I'm going to just say a couple of names to you. I want to know how you feel, because I know you do a lot of the transfer news. The dream is free, the hustle is sold separately. First one, there's rumours Giroud wants to return to London. You having him back?
No chance. No chance.
Why? I have a duty to ask you why.
Just no
different
chance.
profile to what we have. Devil's advocate.
He is a different profile. He's a different profile. But I think he's 35 now. So there's experience and then there's old age, right? and he's in retirement home right now. Yeah, listen, I think Giroud actually has. Also, I think it's a bit of a resentment for what he did at Arsenal. A bit, you know. I see him do it at Chelsea. I see him do it for AC Milan. I'm seeing this, you know, the striker. This James.
Monaco, man.
You know what I mean? And then at Arsenal, he's moving like, you know, how he was. It was awful compared to what he was. Look, I've always got the whole Ozil thing where I'm like, bro, listen, you just need a couple goals. You could have maybe won a title. Could have got Ozil assist record. But listen, I think he's a good player.
Against Southampton, where he wouldn't put it in the back of the net.
Remember the Monaco game?
Exactly.
Monaco,
that's what
Champions
I'm saying.
League,
The Monaco one, I can't forgive you.
I don't forget those days. I don't forget those days, bro. Those days.
Giroud's looked at with rose tints at times, if I'm honest.
But listen, respect to him. France's all-time top goal scorer. Fair enough. You can do that away from the Emirates.
Fair enough. Paqueta, we've been linked with him again.
No.
Why?
Because he's not the profile. He is Fabio Vieira, isn't he? He's an attack-minded player. I think if we're going to sign an 8, it will be a 8-6 hybrid, like a McAllister out of Brighton, a Caicedo.
What do you make of McAllister? Now that
I'll take him at Arsenal. I'd love him at Arsenal.
Why?
Because I think his profile is just so perfect for that left-hand side. He's an attacker that's turned into midfielder, so it's going forwards. He knows where to be. He's got 5 goals this season. But also defensively, I think he wins 2.5 tackles per game, 1.1 interceptions. These numbers are good defensively as well.
Player, innit?
Works hard as well, and I saw him at the World Cup. I think he was amazing. So I really would like McAllister at Arsenal. In fact, if I was to choose out McAllister and Caicedo, I would prefer McAllister as a number 8 in the team, not number 6.
What do you make of Caicedo as well? Now that you said his name, we flopped trying to get him in Jan.
Yeah, he is more of a number 6, isn't he? That can play as an 8. So he'd be like a Xhaka replacement. But I don't know how good he is in the final third. I'm not seeing, what he can wait.
In the final third.
So
he's very raw. He'd have to improve
so if he can't do that, then I'm not going to spend £70 million on a player that's raw. That's not what £70 million is worth. You know, you can go spend 20 on someone like that. So McAllister for me is the midfielder that I'd prefer out of Brighton.
Would you make Zubimendi? I like him a lot, you know.
I've not watched him play too often, so I can't really give like a massive judgment on him. But if I was to talk about number 6s, though, there's one player I want specifically, and that's Declan Rice. I want Declan Rice as a number 6.
I am so happy you listed him. That's one name I don't have to ask you. Why? Because some people will say English tax, overpaid, blah, blah, blah. He's not that good on the ball. Why?
You know what? We've underpaid for so many of our top signings. Jesus, Zinchenko, so on and so forth. Don't you think it's time to slightly overpay for a player? Like we deserve this now.
We want to get.
We deserve, and exactly. You can't keep improving as a project. You can't keep signing project players. Declan Rice is more of a signing that you know is ready made. You know he understands the Premier League, and more importantly, 24 years of age. He's a long-term signing. 23, 24 years of age. So you're future-proofing your midfield. He can play as a 6 and an 8 as well. And he's obviously, he's got character. And I think that's what team needs is characters and leaders as well.
You said it there with the 8 thing. Like, if we sign Declan Rice tomorrow, I'm inclined to believe you're taking Partey's spot. But when I look at, they're 2 different players. But when you look at what Arteta's done with Granit Xhaka, I'm not saying Rice would play like that. I'm just saying I could see Mikel Arteta probably showing us a different gear and a different side of Declan Rice. Because respectfully to West Ham, if he's playing for Arsenal Football Club, he's going to be on the front foot of games a lot more now. So you're going to have to see a lot different Declan Rice sort of thing. So I'm all for it, man. I'm with you with that. What do you make of Vlahovic rumours resurfacing?
I think they're a bit...
You say you're grudges, fam.
No, it's not grudges. I think they're a bit phony, man. I never believe it quite because I'm like, listen, if Arsenal were going to sign him, we would have actually had some genuine links. It's always like some Calcio Mercato or something like that have no sources in it. So, I think would I take him at Arsenal on the bench? He could sit on the reserves maybe. I don't know, man. But we got Balogun coming back, so do we need a striker? Do we need a goal scorer? I think he is amazing. I think he's ruthless.
What do you do with him next summer as well?
I try. Look, do you know what? I would like to extend his contract. I don't think it will happen in an ideal world. Yeah, but I don't think it will. I think he'll stay at Arsenal for a bit, and then he'll decide himself. Okay, am I starting enough games? Am I getting enough minutes here and
At
there?
least the
But if
6 months
Arsenal,
until
you
Jan.
know, ideally, I want to extend his contract, and if he's not starting at Arsenal, loan him out to a top club in the league somewhere. You know, where he can get more Premier League minutes as well.
Minutes
But
for currency, as they say,
yeah,
yeah.
he's a ruthless striker. A ruthless striker. I like that, and you know, compared to Nketiah, I think he's got a higher ceiling.
I'm with you on that. I just feel there shouldn't be no decision decided on him really,
No.
because again, there are rumors. David Ornstein said we might sign another striker, whoever that is. If we sign another striker, you've got Eddie and you've got Jesus. If I'm Balogun, I want you to return, feel as confident as ever breaking in, but minutes are currency. And I do think we're still going to do the youth project thing, but with it being Champions League, and provided we continued in May having this season, next season there's an element of expectation. There might not be that much game time for young players and whatnot, unless there's injury. So I would think on one hand Balogun will give it 6 months until next Jan. On the other hand, you know, you've got a hot property. Could make more sense going out on loan. If you could get 50 odd million, I'm not saying I would sell Balogun, but it's a decision to make that could be reinvested. Not as much as it kills me, and I have the impossible dream of wanting 11 Haaland boys to come through this academy. Not everyone's going to make it, and as you kind of said about overpaying, if that money could be slapped towards overpaying for someone, then it kind of is what it is. And bearing in mind, it's now 2023. He's contracted until 2025. I'm sure he would welcome bigger wages, but if I'm Balogun, doesn't necessarily make sense if Arsenal offer you a new deal to sign it tomorrow. I'm not saying yes, I'm not saying no. So I'm with you on everything where Balogun's concerned. What do you make of Lautaro Martinez, Links?
I think he is more that false nine profile. So you can see why Arsenal would like him. But I think he's very expensive. I think 70, 80 million pounds.
Expensive.
And for that, you know, we've already got one of the best false nines in the world football, Jesus. So we don't need Lautaro Martinez. And if I'm going to sign a striker, it will be more of a ruthless outlet. You know, like a Vlahovic, yeah, like a Vlahovic, yeah, I get that, but you know, someone like that who is more physical, who can, you know, you can fire the ball into the box, cross it into. We don't have many players that are aerially dominant, so maybe I'd go for that profile. And I don't think Martinez is that.
He's more of a support act sort of thing.
Yes.
I like him. I like what he brings, but yeah, would you make of Raheem Sterling, Links? Even though I don't really buy it, just in theory, are you having him?
I've seen it, and you know what? I can see why. I think the report it said Arteta likes the impact Jorginho has made in terms of experience, and he wants to have more players like that for next season. Sterling would thrive in the Arsenal system, and I have no denying about that.
Facts.
But how much is it going to cost? You know, I think he's available. I think Chelsea have signed enough players, and I think Chelsea
They
want
just
to
signed
sell.
him for 50 mil, and he's going to be on
So,
big wages.
If we can get him for £30 million, I don't think it's a bad signing. I really don't. But anything higher than that. Yeah, anything higher than that, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. But look, if you're giving me Sterling from Man City, I'm taking it in a heartbeat. So then I'll pay 40 for that, right? I'll pay more than 40 for that. But I think, you know, it's a matter of how much Chelsea want for him, and will they want to sell him to Arsenal and make us stronger again? You know, that's the question now. Teams are going to look at Arsenal separately, differently now. You know, they've given us Jorginho, and they might have given us a title potentially, depending on how
City
he does.
might not sell us any players now, man. They need to
City
keep
won't.
doing that, man. We're coming